Hello again, everyone. Welcome to the Adult Sunday School lesson for February the 20th, 2022. It's entitled Becoming Merciful from the Gospel of Luke. We are in the midst of a series of lessons. The unit is called Growing in Discipleship, all from the book of Luke. We've looked at the call of accepting the challenge. We looked at how to develop an eternal perspective, looking at the Beatitudes last week. And this week we're going to examine what it's necessary to become merciful, which is a continuation of the Sermon on the Mount or the Sermon on the Plain, but follows up on the lesson regarding the Beatitudes. Then next week we have a wonderful lesson dealing with the transfiguration of Jesus. This unit explores how followers of Jesus grow in discipleship. And we are learning that it is a lifelong, ongoing process, and it's helpful if we learn to see the world from Jesus' perspective, and then once we see that, we need to embrace it. But the problem is we never catch up to the example we find in the Savior. Since we're having several lessons in the book of Luke, it's useful to put some more dot points together that describes the characteristics of Luke's gospel compared to the other three gospels. And we find in Luke that there is a special focus on medical issues. Luke was a physician, evidently, so he takes a keen interest in Jesus' healing and therapy as he brings healing to the people that he comes into contact with. Also in Luke, there's a special emphasis on women. He goes out of his way to describe the encounters that Jesus had with women, and sometimes women are marginalized, but not in the book of Luke. Luke also contains the genealogy or early birth record of Jesus, and it's different from the genealogy that we find in Matthew, which seems to trace Jesus' genealogy through Joseph. Luke seems to trace the genealogy through Mary's clan. Here is a copy of a stained glass window that we see in some religious art, and this is the symbol for Luke. Luke the evangelist in a lot of artwork is a sacrificial animal, like a cow, a lamb, or a bull. And that's in keeping with Luke's message that Jesus came into the world as a Savior for all the world, not just the Jewish clan. So our lesson this week, we're still dealing with the Sermon on the Mount or the Sermon on the Plain that's found in both Matthew and Luke. Last week, the Beatitudes provided general guideline for the disciples. This week, we get specific directions for how disciples should live among those who curse us, strike us, and take from us. One of the questions is, are these instructions to be taken literally? We're to follow the behavioral pattern described by these directions? Or are they symbolic of an overall approach to life? Maybe there's some of both of these is in there. This will be for us to decide. Fact of the matter is, we're dealing with bombshells this week. Bombshells in the Sermon on the Mount. What? How'd that get in there? Wrong bombshells. We're dealing with Jesus delivering a series of verbal bombshells that shake the hearers to their core. Here's one bombshell. Love your enemies. Do good to those who hate you. Love enemies, not people that you're familiar with or people you live with. You would expect that you might love them, but no. This bombshell is that we're to love enemies and do good to those that hate us. Here comes another bombshell. Bless those who curse you and pray for those who abuse you. What? These are crazy. These are really bombshells. If somebody strikes us on the right cheek, it says to turn the left cheek so they can strike us again. Wow, these are really attention grabbers, aren't they? So when we're dealing with love, I wonder what Jesus is really talking about. Here's one example of love. Oh, my heart skips a beat when you go walking down the street. I feel a weakness in my knees. That's old Buck Owens singing about one kind of love. I wonder if that's what Jesus has in mind here. What do you think? There's a second kind of love. I call it philosophical love. There are many names for this, but it has to do with what's best for both of us together. Kind of like you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. Here's an early photo of a philosopher, Plato. I guess he would serve as a good philosophical model. And this so-called platonic love is a little different than the Buck Owens type of love we saw before. I wonder if that's the type of love Jesus is talking about here. Now, I think he's talking about God's kind of love, which seeks the best for the other person. Not for me, but what's best for the other person. It's agape love, and that's showing mercy to those who don't seem to deserve it. Are we up to that? I don't know. It's a hard challenge to show God's kind of love, but I believe that is what Jesus is talking about in these bombshells about loving those who aren't treating us very well. Here's some more bombshells. If a person takes your coat, give him your shirt also. Now, in a two-garment society that we were dealing with in ancient Judea, if you give a person your outer garment and your inner garment, that leaves you naked. Are we really to do that? Another bombshell. If conscripted to go 1 mile by a Roman soldier, go 2 miles. Don't settle for just the bare minimum, but go out of your way to help this person. Another bombshell. Give to everyone who begs. And if robbed, don't ask for it back. These I don't see any weasel words in these. These are categorical pronouncements. Give to everyone who begs. And if we're robbed, don't seek a return of it. Here's another bombshell. If lending, expect no interest or even return of principal. So the idea is you're basically giving instead of loaning. Then verse 31, treat other people the way you want them to treat you. That sounds kind of familiar. There have been other cultures besides Christianity that have had some version of this golden rule, but Jesus structures it in positive terms. It's not whatever you don't like, don't do to someone. That's a negative. But no, go out of your way to be positive and do the good thing. Here's somebody standing on one leg. Rabbi Hillel was once asked to state the essence of the Jewish law while standing on one leg. In other words, I think that meant, don't give us a long sermon, but just give us a highlight for what is the essence of the law of Moses in the Jewish law. And he says, what is hateful to you, do not do to someone else. This is the whole law. All else is explanation. Notice that this is negative and incomplete. Negative in that it prescribes what not to do. There's no positive statement in it. So therefore, I say it's incomplete. The golden rule that we have in verse 31 is stated in positive terms, and that is treat others the way you want to be treated. Notice it is positive and active. And that's much different than the golden rule that you'll see in Confucianism or the golden rule you'll see in some other philosophical school, which is stated in the negative. Our golden rule for followers of Christ in developing a Christ-like attitude as a disciple is stated in positive and active terms. Here's a picture of someone you might not know. That's Hippocrates, who was one of the first doctors. And if you know doctors, they take an oath, a Hippocratic oath. Nurses maybe also do this, I'm not certain, but I do know that doctors do. And the first part of the Hippocratic oath is, do no harm. Again, that's negative and incomplete. You don't want to insert yourself in a situation and cause it to be worse. I can agree with that. But then you are to bring healing to bear. You're to actively help someone, bring healing and expertise into a situation. This is more akin to the golden rule that we're looking at today. It's not just don't be hurtful, don't be negative, but go out of your way to help. Here's another bombshell. No credit for loving only those who love you back, because even sinners do this. Clearly, we're called to a much higher standard than what these early followers were used to. Here comes another bomb. You don't get any credit for doing good to those who do good to you. Even sinners do this. So man, this is really hard to follow. And you get no credit for lending to those from whom you hope to receive back. Even sinners lend to sinners in hope of gaining something. Wow. This is turning the world on its head, because these positive actions are so much more demanding than we might think in our normal behaviors one with another. We're to love enemies, do good, and lend, expecting nothing in return. If we do that, our reward will be great in heaven, and we will be known as, or be called, or really become children of God, or children of the Most High, if we engage in these positive aspects of interacting with one another. For God is kind even to the ungrateful and the wicked. The bottom line is mercy. We're to be merciful just as God our Father is merciful. We're not to judge, and we will not be judged. So, do not condemn, and you will not be condemned. If you forgive, you will be forgiven. And the bottom line is mercy. Give, and it will be given unto you. And this is a wonderful formula. What's going to be given to you will be in good measure. That means it's not half full, but it's an overflowing measure. If you have a measuring cup and come just up to the line, that's not what's being described here. The mercy we're to receive is an overflowing measure. And it's going to be pressed down. It's not going to be a lot of air or fluff in it. It's going to be a full measure, pressed down, shaken together, getting all the loose bits out of there, so that we're getting a lot of mercy. And it's going to be overflowing, running over. When I pray, sometimes I think about this formula: good measure, pressed down, shaken together, running over. And then put into your lap, or put into your bosom. And for the measure you give will be the measure you get back. What it's talking about is, here's an ancient robe or toga. Notice how you can fold it up and make a big crease there. That's what the author is talking about, that the mercy you're going to receive from God by displaying these positive, active Christian attributes: good measure, running over, shaken, pressed down, and placed right in your bosom, right in the fold of your garment. This ancient flowing robe folded into a large pocket to receive God's good measure, pressed down, shaken together, running over, put into our lap. The measure you give will be the measure you get back. Our problem, the Sermon on the Mount, is so familiar. We tend to tune out any fresh input or new understanding. I hope you won't do that. I hope you'll see this as requiring a different kind of love and requiring positive action on our part, not just failing to make the situation worse. We're called upon to be actively good. So these teachings regarding the kingdom of God evolve over time. Sometimes they get domesticated or softened with use, but it's hard to ignore the categorical demands because it seems to me they're very direct in telling us to actually do these things. Here are some useful cautions from our lesson today. Be careful how we judge others, because what we judge others with will be used on us. You know, the commentators on this say, when we judge others, not only are we bringing our own limited insight into the situation, but God is the only one who has all the facts. God is the only person who is qualified to judge someone else. So when we condemn others, not only are we judging, but we're improperly taking the place of God, and that's just not right. Another way to look at it is, don't worry about the little tiny speck you see in somebody else's behavior in their eye, because we've got a big problem in our own eye. We need to deal with our own problems before we start condemning others. I'll mention again that we have several copies of this 32-page pamphlet that describe the Gospels that I obtained from Our Daily Bread. I'll be happy to send you by U.S. mail a copy if you want to contact the church and ask for one. I've given away several of these in our live Sunday school classes, and each week I get another person coming up to me saying, Gary, I really like this pamphlet, so I'm glad to send you one if you would like one. So instead of me listing some general questions for your Sunday school, I'm going to test your understanding of the lesson this week. So think back about what these bombshells have meant and see if you can correctly identify and answer these questions. How do we show mercy in these situations? You see a house on fire, or your house is on fire. Do you go up and throw gasoline on it to make it worse? No, you wouldn't do that. Do you say, well, yeah, it's on fire. Yeah, I'm not gonna make it worse, but I'm not gonna do anything to make it better either. You're gonna call the fire department, call the neighbors, help them get out of the house, maybe? What do you think is the right course of action? How about there's a fender bender out on Shelbyville Road? You come up on it like this. Are you going to ram your car into it to make it worse? Or are you going to stand there and say, yeah, there's a wreck. I wonder if anybody's hurt. Or are you going to call the police or call an ambulance, see if someone is hurt, and lend a hand? What do you think our lesson calls for? How about somebody's out in the water drowning and they say, hey, help, I can't swim? Are you saying, well, good luck, buddy. I'm not going to push your head under. I'm not going to make it worse, but I'm not going to reach out and help you. What do you think is the right thing to do based upon Jesus' instructions? Or how about your mother or your grandpa trips down the stairs? Do you just let them lay there? Say, well, yeah, you may be hurt, but I'm not going to move you because it might hurt you. Or do you comfort, help somebody up in a situation like that? Ask them what they need or want. These are optional behaviors. What do you think our lesson asks us to do? Do no harm in them, or to actively help? Should Christians do no harm or help? That's the question we all have to answer. Here's some more. How about the toilets overflowing? Do you just stand there and say, yep, it's overflowing? Or do you call a plumber, do something about it to fix the situation? What would mercy require? How about a person is stuck in an elevator? Did you say, well, good luck? Or do you call building maintenance? Or call security to help them get in there to fix it? Or how about a car overheats? It's not starting. Do you offer to call? Offer assistance if you can? Or you just say, yeah, your car's it's not going anywhere. I'm going to stand here and keep the others off of it so it doesn't get any worse. What do you think? Your pet escapes. Do you just let them run wild, maybe get lost? Say, well, good luck. See you later. How about the trash cans turned over? Do you wait for your wife to clean it up, or do you jump in and take care of it? So I'm hoping that you see in this that our instructions are not just to do no harm, but rather we're to intervene and be positive in these situations. Bishop Barclay's commentary on this passage says, it's not unduly difficult to keep oneself from doing hurtful actions. We can all do that. That's not very hard. But it's very difficult to go out of our way in doing good things. Who wants to be a do-gooder? You know, we can do it in a cheap, petty way, or we can do it in a way that genuinely helps people in the situations they are encountering. Do no harm or help. I say we help. Well, thank you for joining me today. Again, don't take me too seriously. My views are not endorsed by anyone, but they represent how an adult Sunday school teacher might look at this lesson. Please remember our prayer concerns. You know, we got so many things to be thankful for, and also so many people on our hearts that need a kind word and need healing. So I hope to see you next week, where we will deal with more teachings from the book of Luke. Again, Darrell, thank you so much for all the good work you do in a technical way to make sure that we have the best audio, visual, and IT support in the church. So thank you very much. See you next week.